Oh, here we go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bugwatch. I am your host and person with sore throat, Davy Little, aka Swissley, your boy Swissley. I'm here with the third best Tyranid player in the UK,
Oh, you're so
JP.
horrible.
JP, how are you doing?
I'm not so sure anymore after that introduction. I might be quitting doing this and going and doing something else with
Deep
my
cut.
Mondays every 2 weeks.
Yeah, deep
Oh,
cut. Sorry, man.
brutal.
How are you doing? How are you doing all
I'm
down?
good.
I can just about see you down there in third.
Oh, nice. No, I've been doing well. Ironically, I've not done any tournaments since the last one the last show we did because I've been doing just been on holiday. Went away with the kids, went away with the fiance and stuff, and it's just like you don't do tournaments at that point. And it's also that time of the year, summer holidays are on, and
Yeah.
less interesting tournaments, but still kicking along in the league. Got the next round uh, next week, which would be nice, next Monday. Shall hopefully see how that goes. Still in with a shot of winning. It will depend on how the game goes with the person who's in the lead at the moment when I get to that.
Absolutely.
That's good. But yeah, so for me, the next few months is quite quiet. Doesn't look like I'm going to be doing LGT because we've heard nothing about any invitationals. So yeah, my next event will be the ITT event in November. So a lot of probably give it till mid-October, and then I'll start hammering out
You'll be
on some
start
lists to
itching.
send to the
You'll
team.
be itching by then, mate.
Yeah, no,
You'll
I will be, but it'll give me. It's kind of one of those ones that you can kind of just accumulate, just like take on board the data that exists and the lists that are doing well, and start to like kind of work around where I think I want the list to end up. But obviously, it's a team's environment, so things being a little more polarizing isn't a bad thing. So the Crusher monster list is still on the table as an option, but I want to have a little bit of review of other things.
Yeah, of course, mate, of course. Oh, very cool. And in the league, you are playing Crusher at the moment, right?
Yes, yeah, having fun with Crusher. Very very good education piece, mostly for UKTC.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Ah, very cool, very cool. I'm sat in front of my list for this weekend's event at Hellstorm in Sheffield. Me and Tom are heading up to there, along with a couple of other six plus pluses. Um, I have about 50% of a Haruspex, a Trigon, a Winged Hive Tyrant, and a Rupture Fex to paint. So we shall see how that goes.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Yeah, I just need to do it by Thursday. It's all right. It's no problem.
Exactly. You'll be all right.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, some of you might be already spitting your tea out at the mention of a Winged Hive Tyrant. Well, if you think that's bad, I'm taking two. So there is that. Um, it's just a bit of fun. I was like, yo, I just want to take something. I want to take the Crusher, but I don't want to take, I don't want to take Nathan Roberts' Crusher. I don't want to take this other person's Crusher. I wanted to try something. And as I've mentioned on my Crusher videos, one of the things that really annoys me about the detachment is it's so slow. So having a Trigon in there and two Winged Hive Tyrants, not only for their speed, actually, because there's movement 12, obviously, but also for their defensive capabilities in minus one attacks from, rapid ingress. Oh, you've got minus one attack. That's lovely. I think that's quite nice into monsters, which can be a bit swingy in terms of trying to kill them. So we'll see. It'll be fun. I've got so much chaff in this list as well. It's more of an invasion fleet list than a Crusher Stampede list. I've got 2 units of Gargoyles and 2 units of Hormigans. Just because I can't not steal primary off people, it makes me feel dirty if I don't do it. So we'll see how that goes. Um, but no, it's all looking fantabidosi. I just got back from Italy myself, so I've not played for a bit. I did have a game last night. But before that, I played for a bit. My final game in the King of the Ping. If you don't know what King of the Ping is, on the Six Plus Plus channel, if you are a member, you can take part in our online Discord competition. It's like the Champions League esque format. I was in Pod Six with 5 other people, and I have come out victorious with my Synaptic Nexus list. That's how long ago this started. It's when I thought Synaptic Nexus was good. So that's how long ago this league. That's how old this league is. So I'll be going through to the knockout stages. I think I'm the first one to qualify for the knockouts. So that's pretty good.
Nice.
But it was very close. So 3 players had 3 wins, and I was the highest on points scored by, I think it was like 22 points. So it's not a
Wow.
rout by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not bad. I'm happy with it overall. Um, But yeah, so it's going pretty good. I'm excited to see how it goes from here on out. Um, yes.
Do you get to do you get to change your lists in that league?
Yeah, so we
Mm.
you have to keep the what do you call it? You have to keep the faction,
Oh, okay.
but you can change the detachment
Oh
and what have
wow.
you. So
Okay, that's cool.
yeah, it stops. One of the learnings we got from the first league is when Tom was on Tom was on Speedway for the group stage, and he won and he was doing great, but he didn't want to lose face. I don't think in the knockout, so he went back to his like solid Drakari list, and then just battered everyone. So
Oh, them meta chasers.
goddamn meta chasers Tom Lohman, right? Yeah, don't tell him I said that. Um, so yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it, but I'm very very excited for this weekend. Excited to play Crusher again. I was toying just for the content with the idea of playing Unending Swarm because I had a game with it and I get into a good player and it was pretty close. It was a really good game, and I was like, God damn! I scored like 60 points by turn three or something stupid. Like I was just reeling the points in, and then I made an error and just like lost the game at the end. Um, and I think that was just like I'm out of practice with running massive hordes of units. But then I just kind of went like someone pointed out. I think it might have been I can't remember. Someone in the Discord just went, "And like, isn't Invasion Fleet better than Unending Swarm for hordes at the moment?" I was like, "Oh God, it is."
Mm.
Ugh.
It has a regeneration stratagem.
Yeah, and a 5-up field up in, and
Yup.
I could spend a CP to give all my units sustained, one of my units sustained, or they could just have that anyway.
Exactly.
So I had some funny other ideas. I was like, okay, so who's good at Swarm? Vanguard Onslaught, right? Hear me out. So you imagine you have 20 Hormigans, right? Sorry, 20 Termagants. If your opponent moves within 9, and I just went, like, I've got a Hive Tyrant nearby, so I'd spend 1 CP, reactive move 6 inches. Yeah? But then the Termagant special rule is they also reactive move D6 inches, right? So can they do a potential of 12-inch reactive move? Nah. All right, now I'm
Yeah,
talking.
all right.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
that
not
sounds
sold,
kind
but
of fun.
okay.
And then Assimilation Swarm. I mean, people have mentioned like Termagants and Hormigants in Assimilation Swarm being good. I've never really even considered it because every time I think of Assimilation Swarm, I start to feel a little bit sick and just go, no, I just don't want to think about this anymore.
Does your head hurt?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the arguments that I've got in my head is Unending Swarm the fourth best Horde detachment? I'm not sure. Well, I mean, what annoys me about it as well is one of the things that got me onto this idea was James Marston, local like hero at 40k, like he's awesome. He's won a couple of events with Kroot, right? Kroot
Hmm.
swarms,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was like, oh wow, if he could do it with Kroot, maybe I can do it with Termagants. The Kroot is a different kettle of fish, man. You've
They
got
got stealth, right?
it's got stealth. It's got 6-up in vulns in shooting, 5-up in melee, I think, or back to front maybe. Um, yeah, it's just better. It's just way better. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, fun, interesting times. But guys, we have a sick show for you today. We are, as you can tell, my voice is about to give out. Um, so yeah, this isn't an episode of JP'll Fix It. This is genuinely my voice today. That's a joke for all you English viewers out there.
It's not a good joke.
It's
That's
not
so
a good.
bad.
It's pretty
Oh,
bad.
that's terrible.
Um, so we're going to go through some lists today. That's what we're going to do. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat because we'd love to answer them. Speaking of the chat, we've got MH. Let's go. Bug Boys just finished magnetizing my Tyrannofex. Yes,
Nice.
magnetize that beast. Absolutely. Um, yeah, because I've just ripped an acid spray off one of mine, and it now is currently gluing to so I don't magnetize them. I glue the model, the arms, into the holes, and hold it there until it's glued, and then just kind of bend them out, and then put the other one back in, so you don't have to magnetize it. Free tips from Davey. What else we got? We've got Forge World Titan, wonderful, wonderful Byron. Round of applause for Byron. He's just a wonderful person. Speaking of which, Byron, please message me. How do I get these tyrant guard back to you? I made a terrible mistake. Um, he says good morning. I'm pretty sure he lives about 20 miles north of me, so it's definitely not morning. But hello, Byron. We've got Paul Evans in the chat. Hello, Paul, one of the stalwarts from our Discord. Hope you're all right, mate. We've got Roly Poly Esquire. Greetings from New Zealand. Hello, good to see you there, mate. Hope New Zealand is wonderful. We've also got Wolf Hunt here. Hello there. I've started to play Crusher Stampede for playing it in teams, I think is what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's really good in teams. It's pretty cool. So tell us how that goes. Of course, any questions, please give us a shout. We'll crack on with the show. I'm going to try and transition here. Oh, is that working?
No, it says welcome.
It says welcome. I like that. I like that a lot. Cool. All right, nice. So, we're just going to talk about some of the most amazing lists of this week. Guys, there's a big theme in this week. I want to tell you, there's two themes, actually. Two themes. One is Crusher Stampede, and the other is Assimilation Swarm. So hold on to your britches for that at the end, all right? Because that blew my mind this morning when I was making these slides. All right, cool. Let's have a look. So great news for enormous Tyranid good enjoyers. True story. Rupture Fexes are the new fad. They're the new. They're having a brat summer. Is that what people say? I don't know. They're having. It's hot Rupture Cannon summer, is what I would say it is. So get your Rupture Cannons out. And that's not an innuendo. Cool. So we have first up Hamish Reeve with Invasion Fleet. Now, okay, I don't talk about team lists. I don't like them because I don't like teams, right?
So bad. This is the only reason I'm on this show, by the way, is to give the alternate team's opinion to Davey.
Yeah. If you want to play teams, go and play teams, but then don't complain to me that it was crap. So we've got Hamish here, Hamish Reeve, Invasion Fleet, the Team Wellington chaps. Perhaps our friend who just pointed out is from New Zealand, Roly Poly Esquire, will know of Hamish because I assume Wellington is in New Zealand. He had 4.5 wins and came sixth overall as an individual player.
Nice.
The reason why I brought this list up is because I think it's quite interesting. So we've got a Hive Tyrant with monstrous scything talons and a Lash Whip and Bone Sword, so entirely melee, and a Neuro Tyrant. We've got 2x10 Hormigans. We've got a Biovore, 2 Lictors, a Pyrovore, the 6 Zoes to go with the Neuro Tyrant, I imagine, 3 Exocrine, 2 Maliceptor, 2 Rupture Fex. Why is this interesting? Well, it's a team's list, so it does have that inherent skew. But realistically, the big thing here, I heard you like shooting, because this is all gun. The only counter charge this guy has is the Hive Tyrant with like 10 attacks, right? Because it's got the monstrous scything talents. Everything else is shooting the shit out of you, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a vibe. And, because they're all monsters, they can shoot in combat. So, sure. I think it's obviously built to take on certain lists. Let's talk about what those lists might be. So, we'll look at his run. This is what his team paired him into. Death Guard. He got a 16-4 against Death Guard. Custodes, 14-6. Then Custodes, a 20-0. So, absolutely pow. Then he went 10-10 into Guard. So Guard's an interesting one. I remember thinking about this because I've got a friend who plays Guard. And I thought, we must have a pretty good game into Guard at the moment with all our Rupture Cannons. Just blow tanks up. It's be sick. Not really. Because battle cannons and stuff are so good.
Vanquishers do a lot of damage.
Yeah, man. Vanquishers are sick.
And they still have a 2-up save.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so even the Rupture Cannon, they've got a 6-up. If they're in cover, they've got a 5-up. And you know how many times people roll a 5-up? It's about 1 in 3 times.
Yep.
And then he went into a really weird non-meta Blood Angels list. It was a bit bizarre, but hey-ho, he beat it 18-2. So loads of shooting, some really nice tech pieces in here as well. So we've got 2x10 Hormigans, the 2 Lictors, the Pyrovore, who can obviously double up as an action monkey or can take away cover. So, yeah, man, I really like this list. How do you feel about this being our white bread connoisseur?
It's all. I mean, it's similar to what I would run. There's the things that stand out for me is kind of like I think everyone started in Invasion Fleet mostly have started moving towards Hormagaunts rather than Gargoyles. They're cheaper. They have a better save. If you're just looking for them to hold objectives, they're 65 points for it. But also they can punch up quite well when you get them in synapse range with the strength 4. The zoanthropes rupture effects kind of amount is definitely something that I think is quite flexible in Invasion Fleet. Like if you think you're going into a meta, like teams metas is generally. So I stand on the premise that in singles in Invasion Fleet I would prefer like the rupture effects is based 2 rupture effects is basically old 1 eye plus counter effects brood. It gives you a little bit more combat, better shooting against sort of your mid rangey opponents to complement all the damage 3. But the rupture effects also give you something that the army does struggle, which is anti-tank. The zoanthropes are it's a weird unit because it very much ebbs and flows. Like so looking at some of the lists more recently, we've started to see the zoanthropes come back into lists. Whereas for a long time, there's been a while where we haven't seen them very much. I think that they got paired incredibly well for the tournament. I think the guard one is the only one that stands out as potentially rough. The rupture effects do help with that a lot. But they've still got so much scoring in guard that makes it very difficult for you to play against. But no, I think it's a really good list. I think moving Hive Tyrants to full melee, I think now is better. Getting strength 10 and strength 8 on all your attacks, I think is better than giving them a gun that may or may not do anything.
100%. Yeah, get that heavy venom cannon, rip it off him. Give him
and Biovol. I was hoping the Biovol wouldn't be a necessary thing, but still scores a lot of secondary points, a lot of movement denial, and there's a lot less purge to the foe. It feels in tournaments now like obviously it still exists, but it's less punishing now as you can't get killed more in turn 1.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those models that because you're less dependent on it to score your secondaries, you end up not being punished as much when you get into those kind of Tradia matchups where you can either use it if you need to or you don't. You actually see people shoot the thing now.
yeah. And by the way, it never does what you want it to do.
No, but it does kill elves really well.
It what?
It kills elves really well.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. It hits on 4s and then gives them an armor save.
Honestly, it used to be one of my favorite things playing against like Drukhari opponents with the triple scourge unit. Is you just shoot a Biovore at them each turn because you get sustained 1. You get sustained 1. You get like 2 or 3 hits. You wound them on 2s. You kill 2 of them because their save is so bad, and you might even dev wound one of them. And it was just like, well, now I'm only dealing with 3 Dark Lances rather than 4.
They've got like a 4-up armor, and then they'll have cover. No, they won't have cover because it's a -1. So it'll be like 4s or 3s. I can't remember what the armor is.
4s or 5s, depending on what the unit is. But also you can get dev wounds. So you just pick off the individual models. It's just an annoying thing. Because if you, say, for example, you spike it, it's a D3 blast. You roll 4 shots. You get 2 hits and a 6 gives you 3. You're wounding on 2s. You generally wound 3 times. They'll lose 2 or 3 models. Or they'll lose 1 or 2 models.
No, it's nice of it. I think the role of the Biovore slightly changed. Well, in my games anyway, I am very much using it as a screen my backfield piece. So it's so that it allows me to release other units up the board in a sense.
Agreed. It's great.
Unless I pull behind enemy lines and I go, okay, well that's going over there then, or engage. Okay, that's going over there then. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one. What the Biovores, how the Biovores evolved during 10th.
Absolutely.
Remember when we could take multiple?
Yeah, and they all used to do the same thing. Yeah, no, I never got to. I wasn't playing Tyranids at that point. I was playing Deathwatch still.
It was a very nice time. But no, this is a very cool list, and well done to Hamish. We've got Roly Poly Esquire has played Hamish several times, in fact. Of course, because there's only I think they last counted 24 people in New Zealand, and he usually plays Chaos Knights, so that explains all the love of monsters in this list, I suppose. So you have a tournament against him in October. Well, best of luck.
Best of luck.
Cool. We've got a question from Paul, but we'll save that till we get to the Crush Stampede lists. All right. So speaking of which, right. So we've got the first of 3 Crush Stampede lists. So this is Kiko. This event was in Spain of the best named GT of the weekend, which was the number 4 GT. Happy birthday, Mr. Iberian Goblin GT. Of which Kiko was the winner. He took Crusher Stampede with a Hive Tyrant with the same kind of loadout as what we were just talking about, so all the melee. A Neuro Tyrant, a Winged Prime. We've got 2 times 10 Hormigants. We've got a Biovore, 2 Lictors, 6 zones again, as John pointed out. Like people are taking this again. 6 melee warriors, which is a cool little interesting piece to add into Crusher Stampede. Trigon, Rupture Effects, Acid Effects, and 3 Exocrines. So loads of shooting here, loads of shooting, but also some warriors there to peel whatever, to counter attack and peel off whatever charges your shooting units, which I'm a big fan of. I quite like that. I think it's cool. They've got the prime there, so they get the extra reach. They've got the sustained, which is very nice. You've got the Neuro Tyrant to go with the Zoe, so that's kind of coming back. I don't personally don't vibe with the Zoes and Neuro Tyrant in Crusher Stampede. It still just feels a bit weird. Like I also don't think there's much awesomeness there. I don't know. Like you can turn off modifiers to hit, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it just doesn't feel great for me personally. Some of the spiciness here. He had some. He took an acid effects over a rupture effects. So we've seen people take 2, maybe even 3 rupture effects as a bit of a spoiler for the next list. So that's quite interesting. I was on that boat as well. I think I've gone back to 2 rupture effects now. And then we've got some, and basically some hard fought victories. John and I have spoke about some lists in previous shows where people have just bodied people for the first 3 or 4 rounds and then get a tough game at the end. Like Kiko and a few other people have actually had to really graft to get these wins. So against Dreadmob, a 47-21 win. Mental.
What?
Yeah. Then a really strong game into Sisters, which is impressive because Bringers of Flame are no joke right now.
Yep.
Then a narrow victory, a close-ish
win
versus a Phoenix Lord spam Eldari list, and it was like loads of Phoenix Lords. It was quite interesting. Then a good Drakari list with 6 Grots, and that was again a close game, 11 points in it. And then Cultist spam CSM, which again is not that easy for a low model count army going against so much OC and so many bodies. Again, like an 8-point win there, so really close. So Kiko worked his ass off to get these wins. As I understand it, Kiko's a Spanish international player as well, so it would make sense why he's done so well here. But yes, a very cool one. Let's get on to the next one.
I don't understand that list at all.
What, the last one?
I don't. I mean, just reading through it, I don't like personally looking at the list. I don't know how they beat Brings of Flame and Cultist Spam. They've got no Maliceptors. I'm going to trust that they're an incredibly good player, but I don't. I look at this list and I don't know.
So I asked the man in the know, and he said he is a very, very good player.
Doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt when you're a great player.
Exactly. I don't think I could bring myself to play a list like that.
I don't think I could put 6 warriors and a winged prime in a Crusher Stampede list, only because it would hurt my soul on the insides of my head. It feels it's like, oh, I'm just going to take monsters in Unending Swamp. Like it feels weird, even though I did not, but like only monsters in Unending Swamp. All right. Speaking of excellent players, let's talk about the number 1 Tyranid player in the UK, Nathan Roberts. Oh, John, don't quit. Come on, come back.
Don't worry, I'll get you back at some point. I'm going to keep an eye on your results from this weekend, and I'll be prepared for
down
the
at
next
8th
one.
or something, so don't worry. I think 8th would be generous. I've had a rotten year when it comes to results. Anyway, Nathan Roberts got a 2nd place finish at the Leeds GT. So let's have a look at the characters he put. So he's got the Swarm Lord, which is really interesting. We'll go to that in a sec. We've got battle line units of 1x10 Gargoyles, 2x10 Hormigants. We've got a Bivor, 2 Lictors, Pyrovore, and then monster-wise, we've got a Trigon, 2 Exocrines, 2 Maliceptors, and 3 Tyrannofexes. So this is very similar to some of the lists you saw at WTC. The teams lists that we thought wouldn't work in singles. Hey, Nathan just bodied some really amazing players in 6 games to get to the final. Like, that's awesome, right? It doesn't hurt that Nathan's wonderful. Like, Nathan's a very good player.
Yeah.
And to see it come to life, with the WTC list is pretty cool. I think one of the so without digging too deep, because we've spoke about the WTC lists already on that 6++ show, especially we went a bit deeper into the Tyranid teams lists. But the one of the things I think is quite interesting about Crusher is that HQs are still being innovated on. I think monster wise, you are seeing, generally speaking, a Trigon for reach because these monsters are slow. You're seeing 2 to 3x crins because they're awesome. 1 2 Maliceptors generally because they're amazing, and then between 1 and 3 Tyrannofexes. That is kind of your shopping list. After that, you will generally see 2 Lictors and a Biovol because you need some action people. And then after that, it's like, well, do you want to choose your HQs? Do you want to choose your battle line? There's a list we're about to look at, I believe, which has no battle line, which blows my tiny little brain because
I played, I
not having
played a list.
trash makes me twitch.
I played a Crusher list with no
You did?
battle line in, and it is actually fundamentally fine. Fortunately, UKTC has very few battle line required things,
Yeah, yeah,
which
very fair,
helps.
very fair. Um, so there's a bit of innovation going on there, and what I think is very fun about Crusher is it's all still being worked out. It's still kind of up in the air. So let's look at his run. So I'm sure he will have been delighted to have seen GSE as his first opponent. Um, Not an easy game, don't get me wrong. Like if the player's good, GSE can be very good. But it looks like Nathan had a really good game against them there. Then again, another good game into World Eaters, beating them by 92 to 69. And then Warhorde, again, a difficult one for Orcs, I find, is wounding monsters. Like they've got real problems with wounding monsters, so
Yep.
158. Then a tricky one, I think, is Hypercrypt with the Silent King. Um, Hypercrypt want to be on objectives. We're very good when we're on objectives. So I think it's a case of making sure you're standing on the middle of them and then trying to survive until you score more points than them. He did have the Silent King and all the good stuff, so like it's not easy to do that. But I think the game's winnable if you do just try and bully those objectives. Then he went into Ben Jones's Dark Angels. Now Ben did really well with this recent GT as well. He was interviewed on Art of War about it, um, where he described his Dark Angels as almost Eldari like. So if you want to hear more about that, go and listen to Art of War. It's a very good podcast. Um, then he went into Stephen Box's Army of Faith list. This list, I believe, won a GT at the weekend as well. So like that's no joke either, and he beat them by 8 points. Now I believe, looking at a lot of Stephen's scores, it is built to score like a machine. And to say that Nathan outscored him with essentially what 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 models and then chaff is amazing. So well done to Nathan there. He was only cut down by the assassin, the 6++ assassin, everyone's natural nemesis, but everyone loves him to bits, Jack Tight, with his Bringer of Flame sisters. And that was a 92-68 win. If you haven't played Jack Tight before, the guy is awesome. And a wonderful opponent, actually. Very nice to play. So, yeah, this list is pretty cool. We've got some questions in the chat about this. So, Paul Evans, question on Stampede. In my list, I run 2 Lictors, 5-man units Steelers, 3-man unit Raveners, and 1 unit Gargoyles. Is this too many or not enough? So, I think JP would say it's too many. And for me, I'd say it's probably about right.
It's
I think
potentially
it's
one unit too many. It's potentially one unit too many.
So we've got 1, 2.
Lictors
So
are great.
Lictors.
Raveners functionally are good. The Gene Steelers is the one that stands out as a bit of an unusual one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
75
think,
points just have Hormigans and they're just more OC, faster.
yeah. So in the Crusher list I took, in realistic terms, I had 2 Lictors. Malice. I ended up using my Maliceptors a lot, but the Norn was the biggest thing that scored me points for secondaries. But the lictors are great. So it depends on what your monster contingent looks like. But double lictor, pyrovore, um, battle line unit plus something is more than enough scoring.
Yeah. I mean, my take on this, Paul, is two lictors, yes, perfect. I tend to deploy one in the UKTC, and other terrains have this as well. Within just outside, just like big toe within the 6 inches of the center at the start of the game. What its job is to stop area denial, but also be able to deploy teleport home at turn one. The other one will be on the flank, um, safe, 100% safe, to score containment turn one. On the other flank, I'll probably have like some chaff that can do the containment on the other side if I pull that. So for me, the way that I decided how much chaff to bring is I deployed my army on the battlefield on TTS, and I was like, okay, do I need more chaff just in case? Do I want more things in reserve? And that's kind of how I got to what I wanted to do. Um, so, and I think it's because I like to play a bit more passively. I only do what I have to every turn, pretty much. Whereas I think John likes to go stomp his opponent into the ground. Is that fair, John, or not?
I would say I am slightly more aggressive in our play styles. I was just having to think about it. I was looking behind me at one of the models I've still got to build. I would personally, if I was going to if I was looking at that many sort of scoring units, I'd personally, I would take a third lictor over that 5-man Gene Stealer unit. It's 20 points cheaper, is in theory harder to kill, and lictors present this unusual challenge to opposing armies that they destroy MSU combats because the fight first damage too. I remember like when I used to play Invasion Fleet against when I was playing Invasion Fleet and I had 2 or 3 lictors and I was playing against Chaos Space Marines a lot with this was before the Codex, well, when they were running like 5-man Warp Talon units. The 5-man Warp Talon unit could not go into a lictor and hope to win the combat. They wouldn't do because the fight's first and damage 2 is so powerful. I just personally feel that the potentially the third lictor over the 5 Gene Stealers might be more helpful with the points saved. The Tyranids are, because we have such great internal balance within our units. Like you look at these lists and you see how, if you compare it to a lot of different armies and how many different data sheets you see. Like yes, a lot of them are the same, like Exocrines, Maliceptors, the Tranifexes now, the Biovore and stuff. But if you look at this list, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 10 different data sheets, which is a lot for an army which has sort of 13 units kind of thing. There's a lot of variety. So I feel that kind of you can never, it's very hard to say you've got the wrong units for scoring. It's going to be a personal feeling, but I think that my thoughts are you need to, I would suggest practice with it.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer. Like there are lists I've played which have had 7 or 8 scoring pieces, sort of 3 lictors, 2 Gene Stealer units, 3 or 4 Termagant units, and that is a lot of scoring. And I've very quickly brought that number down. But also on the flip side, when I played the Crusher list at the TTR event, I had 2 lictors, a Pyrovore, and monsters, and you can make it work both ways. So I don't think there's. I think 4 is kind of a good point to generically just score enough points in each game and get your secondary cards. That I think it's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking that maybe we're products of the lists we've played prior to Crusher, right?
Yep,
So
100%.
yeah, because you didn't have that much battle line previously. You never really played gargoyles. Whereas my background was Vanguard Onslaught, followed by Unending Swarm, and that ended up with me just being like, "Hey, gargoyles in every list," and Hormigans are like cheap gargoyles. So maybe there's a bit of that, but hey ho. So hopefully that helped, Paul. Um, in summary, it's up to you. But I would play your first 2 turns and score your points. Draw cards randomly. and just be like, how am I scoring this objective? And then redeploy based on that. Cool. Doom Melon. What's up, Doom Melon? Doom Melon, who tried to talk me off the ladder of having two winged hive tyrants, but
Uh,
to no avail.
Sometimes you just need to have fun.
Sometimes
A
you just
la
need to have
my
fun.
DTR list and your Hellstorm list.
Hey, when I'm back on here in 2 weeks' time with my golden ticket, you are all going to be crying.
We will be, trust me.
Yeah.
I'll be leading it.
But the Doom Melon does have a question. I don't know how Nathan beat Steven's sisters. They picked up all my monsters with these, so I'm guessing Doom Melon played Stephen Box's sisters. I think the sisters matchup is really dependent on miracle dice. If you roll loads of fives and sixes, it's going to be hard. If they roll ones and twos and shit the bed, like it's a little bit easier. Um, it's a super tricky matchup. I think I think it's about 50-50. The matchup. When I've played recently, the Bringers of Flame and some of the other ones. I don't know the Army of Faith. I imagine that helps you flip
Yeah.
miracle dice to sixes or some shit.
I think because the Army of the Bringers of Flame is the detachment that has the ridiculous strength melter weapons, right?
Bringers of Flame is the advance and shoot one, I think.
Okay. And I think it has
I might be wrong.
boosts to your
I
melt.
don't know.
I don't know this. I don't profess to know the sisters list very well, but I think one of the detachments is very much has a lot more strength into monsters because it can buff up its strength of its melter weapons. Army of Faith is still that there is still a failure rate into monsters that
Yeah,
even like so you'll play the same game with twice. And when you're wounding on fives, it can be very, and a lot of the weapons in Sisters do wound us on fives, especially Maleceptors and stuff because of T11. There is you could play a game where you roll hot on fives and sixes and you make it look incredibly easy. And then the next time you play the list, you can't roll anything more than a four. Even obviously you have the miracle dice, but winning on fives is a big difference. Like I wholeheartedly stand. This is one of the reasons I stand so heavily by Maleceptors, is because that T11 is such a massive breakpoint into a lot of weapons. You can just have these games where you just get absolutely diced off the table and everything seems to be going your opponent's way. And then the flip side of it, you'll play the same next time and they'll roll nothing but a 4+ and they won't wound any of your army. So I definitely can see I think it'll be one. It could be a matchup. It could be mission. Nathan is an incredible player. He is. I mean, He's been on Team England, and he's on Team England, I believe, for a reason.
yeah,
He's been involved in the England camp for years. For years and years, he was on Team England when I played back in fifth edition, which is over a decade ago. The guy's been
yeah.
around for a long time. He's an incredible player, and I think that has a thing. But I also do think the other point about just the way that the game plays out will have a thing as well.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, hopefully that helps. We've got Christopher Richardson. What is the extra CP from the Swarm Lord being spent on here? From my experience of playing Crusher, you tend to save up your CP for like big go turns. I run through the wall. I reroll my hits. I then Savage Raw, so whatever I've hit that survived can't hurt me back, or something like that. That was how I used it. Also, early in the game, recycling secondaries is really key. Just having the extra CP there is really nice. The problem is you don't have any use for your CP in the early game if you're not in combat, kind of, because you don't have any defense against shooting via stratagems. The only thing you can do is ignore modifiers to hit, which is cool. Which, by the way, linked to sisters here. If you have a rupture cannon and you shoot at a castigator and they have a 6 and the miracle dice and the castigator has cover, you are not hurting the castigator. And it is painful in your heart when you think, oh, that's cool, I've just killed that. No. Cool. So hopefully that helps. John, do you have any other thoughts on what a CP might be used for the extra CP?
Binning stratagems. I think the big one is binning secondary cards. Sorry, because you can't zero it with a hive tyrant. You can effectively zero it with a swarm or getting extra CP. I think you'll also more likely see a lot more use of the impact hit stratagem in this army.
Yeah.
So I think those are a couple of things.
I mean, that's quite good into sisters as well, right? Because it's all MSU. You just run into something and kill it, and then conspile into the next unit and kill that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, absolutely. You know, you can in theory run a Maliceptor into a small unit, kill it with impact hits, and then go into the next thing and do it. Crusher having access to impact hits has this, but because it's done at the end of the charge phase, once you've completed a charge, you can then consolidate into something else
yeah.
and fight that, which is bizarre but is great,
That's
and I
the
love it.
10th
I'm here
edition.
for it.
Yeah. Very cool. Wolf Hunt. The Hive Tyrant gives the same CP and lethal hits. It gives the same CP, I suppose. I get what he's saying. But it also gives lethal hits and assault. So it's difficult to understand why the Swarm Lord is better in this list.
I think it's meta dependent. I think if you're expecting to see a lot of melee armies, the Swarm Lord is like awesome.
Yeah.
The Vect is so powerful into
I
it.
think
Like
you
if you
missed the Vect there, Wolf Hunt. Like, the Vect is pretty cool.
look at what Nathan played against GSC. There's a decent chunk of combat in that, but it's also close range, which means you can get within your stuff can be dropping in the 12-inch aura.
Because they have demo charges. I think there might be a stratagem for demo charges as well.
There's a 3-inch deep strike stratagem. Depending, it depends on what detachment. I honestly don't profess to know anything about GSC anymore.
No.
But there is a thing where you've got some very short range weapons where you want to be right up and close, and suddenly it's like, oh, it costs 2 CP. It's like, oh, I didn't have that planned out. World Eater's combat army, Warhorde mostly a combat army. I don't know what the Hypercrypt list is, but again, can be dropping in close. You get in the middle of the board, it's very hard to take you off. Don't know what Ben Jones Dark Angel's list.
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of combat in that.
Again, so great into that, and then Army of Faith brings a flame. They all have combat units, so again, it's just that if you think you're going to play against a high percentage of melee armies, that Vect ability is really good and is on a par with the Hive Tyrant's abilities.
Yeah,
It's just how you kind of want to play the list. And in a list like this, and I think the biggest thing I've learned is the Hive Tyrant aura is more important on the Carnifex Brood. So if you have Old One Eye and the Carnifexes, then the Assault Lethal's aura is more important than the Swarm Lord's Vect ability, whereas this list is more like individualized monsters where they might be more into like 3 Rupture Fexes aren't going to be babysat by the Hive Tyrant.
yeah.
Anyway, because they're at the back of the board wanting to shoot on their own, and they move 9 inches anyway, so they move pretty quick.
That's funny.
So
I use them more mid board. It's really funny.
Exactly.
It's interesting though. I get what
you know what I mean. You're generally not castling up as much, whereas with the Hive Tyrant, the DAC effects brood, having that combination is so much more important. So yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest takeaway between Hive Tyrant and Swarm Lord is I feel it's more driven by what you have in your army.
Yeah.
That it's trying to support. And Nathan's list, I think, is a lot more individualized to allow it to the Swarm Lord to have more impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bang on there, John. Bang on. Hannibal Lichter, good name. Thanks for the show. It was great to follow. Thanks very much, mate. I can't remember who might have been here, but somebody also mentioned Crusher is good for turning. Stockpiling CP. Yeah. So, yeah, really good. Yeah, so I think, God, there's been loads of comments. Thanks, guys. This is
really
awesome.
good.
Big fan of this. Cool. Okay, I think we've got all the answers, all the questions. Right, one more Crusher list.
So I've just seen Peter Harrison's one. Apparently, one of his buddies picked up his golden ticket with Nids this weekend. Congratulations on whoever did pick that up.
Oh, amazing. Pete, tell us who that is.
Yeah, who is that and what event were they at? That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah, on we go.
On we go. We've got one more Crusher list, guys, because there's so many Crusher lists. We've got Michael Georges. And yeah, so we've got Crusher at the Hammer of Wrath GT, who went 4-1. So this list again, Hive Tyrant with all the combats, and guys, the first enhancement we've seen out of all these lists so far, and with Monstrous Nemesis, which gives you +1 to hit and wound vehicles and monsters. I believe. It might just be wound. I can't remember. That's how often I take enhancements from Crusher. We've also got a Neurotyrant in there. He's never heard of Battle Line, doesn't know what you're talking about. But we've got a Biovore. We've got 2x3 Raveners. So as JP was saying before, and one of the chaps in the chat was saying, Paul Evans, Raveners are an option here as well. I don't like them because it gives your opponent the amount of times you'll try and put them down where you want them to be, and your opponent will just be screening it, and you'll be like, why? But I can understand how they're very good.
No lictors in this list.
Say again?
No lictors in this list. No infiltrating at all, which is a bit scary.
Yeah, I think so. A Pyrovore, 6 Zoanthropes, and then a shopping list of monsters. We've got a Rupturefex, a Trigon, a Non-Emissary, a Maliceptor, an Exocrine, sorry, a Haruspex, and 2 Exocrines. So while there's no battle line, there's a couple of tech pieces here in terms of the Raveners, the Pyrovore, etc. Um, so there's kind of that. And then versus a lot of the lists we've seen before, there's a lot of one-offs. So I would imagine Michael's really planned out what each of these monsters' roles is, which one goes in strat reserve, which one is your first trading piece, all that kind of stuff. Because I think if you're taking loads of one-offs, that's what you're doing. Um, and then again, there's always a Neurotyrant's return here. Interesting run. GSC turn one, GSC round one, with a fairly close win, 13 points. Then we've got guard where Michael 20 would him, so well done. Then his only loss was to Corn Demons with a Great Unclaimed one, which just sounds like cheating. That's not cool, man. These demon players taking liberties, dude. Um, the Corn Demons matchup is really interesting. Like I played into them in Spain, and it was really cool game. But again, a close loss, right? So 8 points. Then into Bully Boys, I do find Bully Boys can't wound monsters again. A big orc problem. And then he went into to Imperial Knights. Again, two big ones, right? A 1 point win. Good one, Michael. Let's go, bro. Let's go. So really cool. Um, and I think like we said earlier, there's a lot of grafting going on this week, like a lot of close games, and Michael reinforces that. And well done to Michael there. Really interesting, I suppose, to see a Haruspex here. The non-emissaries you've been a big advocate for as well. It's very cool, but no battle line just makes me a little bit twitchy. But well done to Michael. All right, so that is all of the Crusher. Let's get into the stinkier side of Tyranids with the Assimilation Swarm. Danny Deigel at the CCBB 40k singles event, he went 5-1, came in fifth, and with Assimilation Swarm. So really cool to see that Assimilation Swarm is making the tables. He took a Hive Tyrant with a Heavy Venom Cannon, boo, but he does have Instinctive Defense, which is very nice. We've got a Swarm Lord there as well, so we've got the double like Hive Tyrant chassis, similar to what I took in Barcelona. He's paired it up with 2x6 Tyrant Guard, which is kind of fun. I don't like the idea of moving those around the table, but cool. Very, very cool to see on the table outside of Crusher when I used it. I think I'm the only person to ever do that because it's not very good. Then we've got Battle Line, 10 Gargoyles, 10 Hormigons. We've got a Biovore, a Lictor. We've got 3 Pyrovores for the all-important Assimilation Swarm abilities. We've got 1 Pyrovore. Maybe that one's to chuck forward and die on purpose so that everyone can get +1 to wound the monster that killed it. The interesting thing about that over a Ripper Swarm is a Pyrovore is significantly harder to kill. Whereas people who've been thrown out a Ripper Swarm, they can be killed by like chaff. So, you don't want +1 to wound against chaff. We've got a Rupture Effects because you don't leave home without one at the moment for some reason. And we have 2 Psychophage, a Haruspex, and 2 Exocrines. So really cool list. Definitely a graft here. It's all the scoring is done in WTC scoring. So you can see how close these games were. Hypercrypt, 11-9. Chaos Knights, 11-9. Then a loss to an Eldari list with a Wraith Lord, 8-12. So again, not a big loss. Then he went into a really good Blood Angels list and managed to absolutely batter them 17-3. I would love to see that game. That sounds really interesting. Then he beat Dread Talents 12-8 and Admech 11-9. So, as I said before, loads of close games in the list this week. The graft of the week goes to Danny because the geezer must have got grey hairs this weekend because that is a lot of close games. Obviously, Assimilation Swarm is the big kind of spice here, and 2x6 Tyrant Guard is a lovely dream that we all want to see on the battlefield. Really cool to see. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think, John?
I don't understand how Assimilation Swarm works. I will defer back to you, Davey, to explain. I like in all seriousness. I can't. I think one of the challenges with trying to understand the Assimilation Swarm is you have to take a massive step away from all of the other detachment style plays. Like a lot of the other detachments, although you have like your combinations and stuff, they're all quite self-sufficient units. Whereas
Yeah.
this list is so heavily dependent upon things coming together and working in harmony that it's a very different style of play. And I think if you are playing Assimilation Swarm, it's hard to pick up. But if you played it all the time, I think you can get great results. Obviously, as Danny did here. But no, I've been looking at the list, and I some of the matchups they played, I just don't understand at all.
Yeah, it's bananas, man. Assimilation Swarm. I played someone on TTS in a mirror match. We just happened to bump into each other, and we're like, "Oh, I guess we're both playing Tyranids." He played vanilla Tyranids all game because he didn't get onto any objectives with any of his, what you call them, assimilation units. I can't remember what they're called now.
Harvester.
Harvester units. So he just didn't have a faction ability, like a detachment ability. And you're like, oh my god, we talk on this channel about hoops, right? How many hoops you need to jump through for something to actually work? For you to get the benefit, the stated benefit, it's like Magic the Gathering, right? What is the benefit of this card or this ability? And what do I have to do to get it? You have to get an 8-inch move monster or a 5-inch move Pyrovore or a Ripper Swarm onto an objective. Then it needs to live there until your command phase. And it's like the hoops are so big. But we did interview Michael De La Torre, and he did very well with the Assimilation Swarm as well. So I think it's very much as you just said, JP. Practice, practice, practice. If you can devote yourself to this detachment and make it work, I think you'll do great. And I've just seen Mr. Monster, absolute belter, coming in here. The game versus Dread Talons is on Tabletop Live if people want to see it. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow because I would like to see how the hell that worked. Wonderful. All right. So you thought one Assimilation Swarm list was good. Let me introduce you to Craig Parker. Craig Parker is the guy from Maelstrom Gaming. So go and check out their channel. He does loads of Tyranid stuff as well. So if you're into Tyranids, that is also a cool place to go. He was at the North Star Open, also went 5-1 and came third. So well done to him. It's on. If you are looking for that Assimilation Swarm list, it's on round 5, day 2. So I think they're like one of the last games of the episode. Cool. So what do we have? This list is pretty much the same as the last one, except it switches out in It switches in a Neurotyrant and a Psychophage in the place of a Haruspex and 10 Gargoyles. So really interesting because a Haruspex obviously is probably the most durable. I mean, it's hard because a Psychophage is weirdly durable, but a Haruspex is the most durable harvester unit. And as we've said, keeping things on objectives alive is pretty difficult. And only for 30 points more than a Psychophage, you could have a Haruspex. So it's not a massive jump. But we've switched that out. We've got the Neurotyrant. Obviously, that helps you with your denying primary or C, etc. Stopping your opponent on their go turn is also really nice. And then the extra Psychophage, I have to say, right, okay, I hate Psychophages, but they are fun to play with. Like fun, not good. So yeah, like I can understand how someone would take one. So yeah, cool. The run here was a very close game, or a loss in tonight. So Craig lost his first game, got on that submarine, and chugged right to third place. Good lad. That's what we like to see. So a 7-point loss to Chaos Knight. So super close as well. Like Chaos Knight is not an easy matchup for us. And to keep it within 7 points, that is like hard fought. So well done, Craig, on that one. Death Guard, he beat them 90 points to 68. So good solid win. I think I've mis-entered this score here. He did beat Eldari, I believe. Then he went into double command badge hypercrypt with a Silent King. Like savage list, and beat it 78-64. So another hard fought win there. then a good win into Custodies. And I think when you have exocrines and rupture fexes, like Custodies can feel a little bit more achievable. So that's good to see. Um, and yeah, then we went into a strong demons matchup. So like your kind of stereotypical strong demons game list, sorry, and that was an 85-67. So another close game. So Craig worked his ass off to get that third place. So well done. But again, I would love to see this list in action. Maybe Craig can tell me when if he's going to show this list on stream because he does stream games. It'd be great to see him play it. So yeah, that is all the lists for this week, guys. Well, let's check the chat to see if we've got any more questions. Doom Melon petition to rename Assimilation Swarm as the Moneybag Detachment. Think of the stonks you would have to afford 12 Tyrant Guard and 5 Pyro Bivors. Yeah,
Yep.
man. Like early in the edition when the book came out, I was like, man, Assimilation Swarm so cool. I just want to run 9 Pyrovores. And I will not lie, I nearly bought 9 Pyrovores, right? And I didn't because the shop didn't have enough stock. Thank God that happened, and I've only got 4.
Yep.
Yes, because that would have been a mistake. I mean, even in those lists, right? Those lists only had 4. And I think I quite like that. Because bringing back a Paravore is achievable given the Assimilation Swarm rules. And it's also like good value. You get 35 points back. That's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a bit. I think that's kind of useful. So yeah. But I think that's us for the today, guys.
Yeah.
We nearly nailed an hour, so that's pretty cool. John, do you have any closing remarks of this week's shows, this week's lists? Any
I
big
am very interested. So because how long have we been in Prior Nexus now?
Oh, this
A
must
month,
be
3
6
months,
weeks,
6 weeks, month and a half,
7 weeks, maybe.
7 weeks. So nearly 2 months. So we're a month away from next balanced data slate. So
Jesus, oh my God,
it comes around quickly, doesn't
so
it?
fast.
I know. But it'll depend. I think they said they would do it. So I think the big takeaway from kind of the list for me is that rupture fexes just seem to have gone up in value for the lists. They seem to be kind of just appearing everywhere. I've played them myself, and I really don't enjoy the model, but it works. Let's just put it that way. It clearly works. I
Gets
think,
line of sight wherever you want it.
yeah, pretty much. I think kind of the big thing from all the lists is that you can play pretty much anything right now and have
Yeah,
very strong results. Obviously, Crusher had the strongest of the strongest results, but in terms of size of tournaments and kind of the run with Nathan and stuff. So I think that kind of it's at the moment it's like almost play what you want. It's
Yeah.
all viable, but then I think you just need to find your kind of style of what you want to play with. So. I won't be putting down my triple Maliceptor anytime soon. I think that model is incredible. I think it's so good in Tyranids.
Yeah.
I'm messing around with the other monster contingent at the moment and kind of the chaff part of it. But no, it's just really good at the moment. I think we're in a very good place. We're very balanced. We've got a higher win rate than I think people perceived that we would in terms of converting tournament results and getting high results. But yeah, so no, I think it's looking really good for us, and I think give it a few weeks, and then we'll be starting to look towards the next data slate and what may or may not occur in that one.
Yeah, man. I would concur with that. I think a lot of other players will be very jealous of Tyranids because we have the most flexibility in any army, any faction, and I think that's awesome. Now, it's difficult to win events, obviously, because only one person can win an event. So you have to look at it from a, how are we performing, etc. kind of point of view. And yeah, we're all about 50% there or thereabouts, and I think that's great. We had loads of different detachments in the top 5 of loads of GTs this weekend, and that's great. And I think it's just super cool, man. Like it's just a really good time to be playing Tyranids. I tell you what, though, it does for me. So I can't just say everything's amazing because I still look over at my World Eaters and go, oh, that would be a lot of fun to play right now. And I think it's because so you look at Blood Angels, I mean, not for very long, but Blood Angels, you look at other armies and you go, wow, there's a really cool, strong combo there. Like, that would be fun to play with and just go and do that thing. And I don't know if Tyranids have the combo. We were talking about a lot of the units are very self-sufficient. I think that's absolutely true. But also, it's kind of sad, right? Even in ninth edition, when Tyranids were broken, there was so much synergies. Your Hive Tyrant had to be near this to do that, to do a certain spell. Your neuro, everything needed to be
Yeah,
working in
agreed.
synergies. It's less important than ever for Tyranids to be in synergy. And as an army of synapse monsters and creatures, that's kind of missing for me a little bit. The only one that I suppose I really lean into the synergies of are Exocrines and Maliceptors, because the Exocrines give everything reroll ones, and the Maliceptors make things difficult to kill. And you can see, I mean, look, I'm taking two stupid flying Hive Tyrants. They're going to try and -1 attack my opponent. Like, I love one unit helping another unit, etc., etc. And I think you can absolutely play other armies without, like, other Tyranid lists without any kind of synergies, and just take big monsters and flatten people. Um, so yeah, I suppose that's my only downside. But Vanguard's even doing well as well. Like the win rate, I think it's actually the highest win rate. Detached, maybe second after Invasion Fleet at the moment. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head. As of not last week, the week before, I was just looking at Stat Check this morning. I was going to do a big piece, but I realised my throat was 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 inflamed, so I decided to wait until next time. Wait until next time. Hey, Danny Daigle's in the chat. Hey, Danny Daigle. Hope you are well, mate. Congratulations on your performance. Would love to hear more about your Assimilation Swarm. Come and join the Discord. We can have a catch up about it. That'd be great, mate. That'd be great. If you want to join the Discord, by the way, it is in the description below. Cool. Well, that's everything. Yeah, come and join us. Come and chat. We love to hear it. And we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later.